Hello, I'm Don Westfall, Director of Athletics at Bethany Lutheran College, welcoming you back for another installment of the Bethany Sports Beat. As we continue to look at some of the fall sports seasons here at the college, we're going to talk about men's golf at this time, and that means we're going to be bringing in the men's golf coach, Daniel Mundahl. And Coach Mundahl, your season's been done now for a few weeks, but actually the weather-wise, you can still get out there and play a few rounds if you wanted to yet this week. Season as a whole, went in the books. It was fast. It always is. Weather-wise, was good for you guys as well. Or did you guys get caught in some of that rainy stuff back in this, early in September and even a little bit as the lighter portions of the month rolled along?
Actually, every golf round that we went out and played, we had fantastic weather. Rain was not an issue. Wind wasn't an issue. Courses were in actually great shape for us to go and play. And so we had timed things right. This year we've also played a lot of matches on the weekend and not during the week when some of that rain fell. So we were fortunate that way. Like you said, the season goes by in 8 weeks in a big hurry. But our team, even after the season's over, went out and practiced and played golf and enjoyed the weather while they could.
One of the other things you did different this year with the schedules, you took some longer trips and got into some different competition. Historically, a lot of your competition had been against conference foes during the concept of a regular season, but this year, trips down to Iowa and things like that. How did that work out, and did you see some correlation into how the season progressed and experience maybe a different nature in terms of types of courses and just different competition as a whole?
Well, I would say, Don, it would be all of the above. The interesting part when I looked at our players' stats from a year ago to the day who played in it, their average scoring round was better this year than last year, yet the average course length we played this year was another 150 yards longer than last year. when you go to the Super Regional in Illinois, you had 33 teams there. Another one in Iowa where you had 16 teams there, and a lot of those were NAIA schools. And so a lot of great competition, in a sense, to make our guys better, to have a better competitive schedule, which will help in recruiting and attracting and retaining players here. So then plus for the guys, it's a chance to get away and see other people and have a different kind of life experiences, as we'd call them.
You guys' experience would probably be a key word this year. Everybody's, for the most part, is back next year. Youth in the team. And, we've talked about that concept with some of our other sports. I think some people probably think, well, you golf in high school, you golf against competition, same kind of format's the same. What is the growth aspect that these players, after a year or two at the college game, where have they evolved beyond what they were as high school players?
I would say one would be consistency. The other one is how to handle much longer courses than they played in high school, and a much more difficult courses to play. Is probably the biggest challenge difference between the two. I look at our, as you talked about, young team, 5 sophomore, 2 freshmen, a lot of young team that grows. I mean, when I think of last year, 2 of our most seasoned experienced players who are not with the program or due to graduation and the like, was shot in the 70s. My average team score this year with the players who played was in the low to mid 80s, but better than they were before. And so as they continue to get older, they'll have more maturity and consistency and get better. But I think, our practice sessions, they are, I'm not saying they weren't dedicated before, but they've gotten more dedicated in the summertime, getting into the weight room and spending extra time at practice to get better.
I know in the past years, players like an Andy Aukus, you had the Pedersen brothers, and in Austin Snowbeford, there were guys that routinely were going to stand out and be top scorers. I would say maybe one of the trademarks of your team this year was just the overall balance, that there were some core guys that really you could almost interchange at times, certainly through the practice rounds and stuff like that. There wasn't necessarily that 1 or 2 big-time standout golfers. And I don't know if that's something that the balance is maybe good to some degree, but maybe the fact you can rely on 1 or 2 guys who, I can almost put in this score every time they're going to go out there and shoot. You'd probably like to have an element of that as well.
That's been one of the things that's been nice this year in comparison to last, is having more depth. So if one's sick or gone or can't show up, I can bring someone in who shoots a similar score. When I think of if I go through all 7 guys, average between 80 and 85, and they all hit right in that range. Some days, a person may come out and shoot a 75, but again, I could pick out any one of them. When they knew they were on deck, they came to the occasion and played.
Last question for you. You have that unique aspect of your season that technically fall season is the season you use in terms of qualifying for postseason play, which isn't until this spring, but you do have the benefit of getting some matches in the spring. So what do you ask your players to do in these winter months here when maybe they can get to a dome or a simulator and stuff like that? But then also, what are you looking to do as far as spring play in order to get ready for another conference season in the fall?
Well, actually, hopefully they're getting in the gym and taking care of that. But the springtime is to get them to get into good habits. We're going to play in 2 other events in Iowa this coming spring, again to see some different competition, to get them excited, to continue to bond together. But it's, okay, what do we need to work on? What can we practice in the month of April and May? Get them set off in the summertime of what they need to work on so when they come back in the fall, they are ready to go and hopefully at their peak performance.
And if you know this guy, they will be ready to go in the
Yes.
fall. There's no question about that.
That's true.
Daniel Mundahl here to talk about men's golf on the Bethany Sports Beat. We thank you for watching.